an increasingly really popular show is the I've Had It podcast. And I think a part of what is being resonated with, you have Jennifer Welch and Annie Sullivan. And from kind of the thing that people comment on is you have this perception or the imagery of like two moms, right? Middle-aged women who are in a red state and are totally bold about being progressive. And it's such a cool combination. And they've just been exploding in popularity because they're willing to be way more aggressive than I can get myself to be with clips like this, where Jennifer Welch just took Scott Jennings to task.
Because when you own as many libs as I do, you got to put a place to put them all.
Yeah, well, Jennifer Welch is going to have to get a farm to put you on, Scott.
A camel would have an easier time making its way through the eye of a needle than a rich man would to heaven. So this whole hypocrisy where you have all of these people, like I like to pick on that Scott Jennings, big Bible guy on CNN, right? And he wants to be this big Jesus guy, but all he is a cheerleader for a billionaire. He's a billionaire's bitch that brought him out on stage as his little show pony, right? And as long as Scott Jennings doesn't speak out of line, then Trump heaps praise on him. And I just think what a demeaning position to be in, to not believe in anything, and you seek the approval of McCankle's taco tits, who can't even blend his makeup. Like, that does it for you? Like, that's it?
Yes, that's awesome. Those words are never going to leave my mouth. I can't do it. But you did it great.
I think it's teeny-weeny syndrome. I mean, I just think a lot of these men have little dick energy. They have insecurity. They're overcompensating. And so if any proximity to power, they just quiver.
Oh, yeah. And it's particularly why they're so...
Wow, teeny weeny syndrome. The Tennessee Holler said Scott Jennings may never recover from this. Hashtag billionaires bitch. Oh! Giggle taco. How do they think of those? Now, speaking of the billionaires, you had, we'll get to some Scott Jennings clips in a second, but this is just developing. Linda McMahon, the education secretary, was holding some event, and I guess Aaron Rupar says someone's apparently hacked the audio system used for Linda McMahon's talk, lol, and called her a corrupt billionaire.
To some of the senators about this, I said, we're going to take this. The funding will come from the Department of Education.
So let's talk free speech. Linda McMahon is a corrupt billionaire donor who knows nothing.
Apparently, it's the CCP didn't like that. They're cutting into our technology.
It's China. And then at one point they started doing this.
It worked. He had his family in the White House. I know that Jared and Ivanka were incredibly helpful to him, but he had some staff changes pretty quickly as people understood what his working style was, and he understood them. So, but this time, he knew the story. He knew how to how to make things work, how to make things run. He had the people coming in.
That's brutal, and she just charges forward. Oof. Now, on the jobs numbers and Trump firing the commissioner of the Bureau of Labor Statistics because he didn't like the jobs report that proved the jobs market was weaker than we previously thought. Scott Jennings, who now just can't ever go in public again after what was just done to him by the I've Had It folks, is trying to defend this, but kind of struggling with Trump's logic.
Stock market last Friday. Look what's happening with the dollar and the treasuries right now. Trust in our capital markets is eroding.
Scott, do you think if the president knew that it was a bad jobs report that came out right before the election, he would rehire the Commissioner of Bureau of Labor Statistics?
Look, what I think he is upset about, and I think everybody should be worried about, is that for a very long time now, and I agree with you, there's something wrong with the way we collect this information. It comes out, we all cover it like it's a news story, but then months later it gets revised, making it not a news story at all.
Is it political?
So I don't know. But
do you think it's political?
I don't know. She was a Biden appointee. I don't know.
Do you think the Trump appointees were political?
Here's what I...
I don't know. Please do click the subscribe button as we continue through the show, as I'm starting to glitch out. So this is really funny. The explanation keeps developing because this is a really scary, authoritarian, get rid of the person who's telling folks the truth and manipulate the numbers they're getting, as opposed to just trying to implement policies that will actually make the facts on the ground better. And you had Kevin Hassett out making this claim about why this has been a long time coming.
Numbers. And when you say potential suspicious patterns that they're going to look at, I mean, I remember talking with you years ago about the BLS putting numbers out that could help, Democrats put questions ahead of Republicans. So how hard is it or easy is it to manipulate?
It felt that way, Maria, because very often Democrats have jobs reports that look better and the Republicans have jobs reports that look worse because of the jobs, because of their policies. It's weird. It's like it must be corrupt, because I feel like every time Republicans in power, the economy gets much worse, and every time Democrats are in power, like, okay, okay, you don't think the BLS is corrupt? Fine. Then why is it that over the last century, the jobs market, the GDP, unemployment, wage increases, etc., every single traditional metric that we measure does way better under the Democrats than Republicans? You don't think it's political? Okay. Maybe you're making the wrong point, Maria.
It's data.
Well, the problem is that if you want to have like statistical certainty, right, then you need to have a large number of observations that are suspicious. And so there are certainly anecdotes that are very concerning. One of the famous ones in the literature is that right before Mitt Romney and Barack Obama were running for office for president, there was a GDP release that was really surprisingly positive right before the election. I thought I had previously briefed Mitt Romney's campaign that I thought that they're probably going to have a number that looked like a recession. And then, in fact, they got a really big, beautiful number right before the election. Probably had a big effect on the election. And then that number ultimately was revised away. And it was revised away because it turned out that the number happened because of the biggest ever, all the way back to World War II, increase in defense spending. No kidding.
I mean, that is exactly what...
Okay, so the problem with, he said that so confidently with what he's saying is, again, they're lying. Even that, a big revision that happened before an election by itself wouldn't be proof of anything. They're always going to revise every so often to get the most accurate possible assessment of the jobs market. But even that theory that, wow, we've seen this before, 2012, Mitt Romney, Barack Obama, really good report, then it got revised, or then we found out something. And Mehdi Hasan says, WTF is he talking about? The pre-election GDP third quarter estimate was revised up, not down, and that was after Obama won too. Again, just like with Trump's argument, they're completely misleading about their argument. Oh, Dan Coe said, he gives the example of a GDP release. GDP isn't even measured by the BLS. It's measured by commerce. Hassett doesn't even know what he's talking about. So then another brutal example there. Then we move to the Todd Blanche interviewing Ghislaine Maxwell, then are getting this cushy transfer to a minimum security prison. Todd Blanche, Deputy Attorney General, very unusual, and scaring people into wondering if this is going to lead to a further deal for Ghislaine Maxwell. Scott Jennings tries to defend that.
Yes, but he is Donald Trump's fixer.
Confirmed by the
Todd Blanche was placed inside the Department of Justice because he is Donald Trump's fixer. That's exactly what he absolutely is. And so what he did in this case is the Epstein matter is out of control. It's a political problem for Donald Trump and this administration. So who does he send to take care of this? Not the prosecutors on the case.
What do you mean take
not
care
the
of it?
acting U.S. attorney. It was Todd Blanche who is now in charge of trying to fix this problem. Interviewing Maxwell.
Interviewing Maxwell.
Well,
you said take care of it. What do you mean? Like he's down there threatening her? What do you mean?
Interviewing Maxwell, which he shouldn't be doing. It should be the job of an FBI agent or a career prosecutor to do that, because he's a political appointee, and the political appointees shouldn't be involved in cases.
You know what's amazing? I hear this all the time here. We come out here and almost every issue, someone makes the argument that the President of the United States and his appointees should not be able to act on behalf of the federal government, even though they just won the election and he gets to appoint the government.
The Department of Justice is not a political tool for the president.
Whoever.
And Donald Trump's personal defense lawyer, they work for the president, but they should not be making determinations.
Yeah. Also, please be honest for a second with yourself, Scott Jennings. If Biden had gotten his deputy attorney general and had completely obliterated DOJ independence before that, and then he gets his deputy attorney general, who was his personal lawyer, to go interview, we don't even have to change the names, Ghislaine Maxwell, and then Ghislaine Maxwell gets transferred to a minimum security prison where that same prison, 3 people just walked off because it's so open. It's kind of a little bit of the honor code is how the article. Don't leave, okay? We'll revoke your puppy program time. And so people coming in, people going out, it's a lot less secure than the prison before and maximum security prisons, obviously, for sure. And then there was talk of making some deal with her. What would the MAGA reaction be? I think you would have Tucker Carlson just swearing allegiance fully to QAnon. You would have all of the right wing being like, I guess QAnon's right, the Democrats, they're all pedos, and there's this huge trafficking ring. But when Trump's doing it, it's what the hell's the problem? This is what he's supposed to do. These are political appointees. And I think the reason that Scott Jennings gets a lot of attention and ire is because he represents what is so wrong about our current media environment, where he was more reasonable back after January 6th for, I think, years after that, and was more moderate Republican, understood the problems with Trump, and then saw, oh, there's no lane for that that's going to get me cushy TV deals. And so he shifted more and more in Trump's direction, and then ended up being rewarded for it. Because CNN, like so many other outlets, not just to pick on them, want those stimulating arguments with pro-Trump people and anti-Trump people. And so he gets rewarded for cosplaying as some Trump loyalist, and now he is thinking about running for office too. And so it kind of, his story is what's so wrong about the incentive structure in political media. Often being honest doesn't get you paid.